And it does segue actually very, very nicely to the next panel discussion, which is entitled Meaningful Tourism in Post-Pandemic Times. Because, of course, experiences nowadays do have to be more meaningful in a post-COVID scenario. And I think that for many people, we have had a newfound appreciation for tourism and travel because we've been pent up and in lockdown for so long. So I would like to welcome to the stage our moderator, Professor Dr. Wolfgang Georg Arlt, who is the CEO of COTRI, and he's also the Dean of HATT Business School Institute. He will be joined by Eduardo Santander, the Executive Director of the European Commission. And via video link, we have two other guest speakers, Professor Dimitrios Buhalis, Director of eTourismLab at Bournemouth University, and Saira Akbar, the Chief Executive Officer of Global Management Consultant. So thank you very much to our four speakers. Okay, and I hope you will enjoy the next session.
Okay, thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. I'm very happy that we can join together here in this summit. Thank you for the organizers to give us the opportunity to talk about meaningful tourism and what does it mean for training and education. And I'm very happy that we have three distinguished panelists. So Eduardo Santander, who is with us here. For you, it has not been a very long way to come from your office to here. And we have two more colleagues who are much further away. So we have Professor Dimitrios Buhalis, who is normally based in the UK, but at the moment he has a visiting professorship at the Hong Kong Polytechnic University in Hong Kong. Hello, Dimitrios, can you hear us?
Hello, Wolfgang, nice to see you.
Okay, thank you. So it's already evening over where you are. And we also have Saira Akbar from the Global, CEO of Global, who is joining us from Dubai. Hello, can you hear us? No, we don't have a sound.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now it works very well. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So we will start with a brief presentation to set the scene, and after that we will have the opportunity to talk to our panelists. So sorry. So let's set the scene and say that many people now are saying, oh, we have to go back to the good old times. Well, looking back, actually, the good old times have not been that good in 2019, already before SARS-CoV-2 pandemic struck. So indeed, the very success of international tourism has been creating problems. So remember, we have been growing to 5 times the number of international travels in 2019 compared to the year 1980, which often made actually a mockery of the idea of hospitality, and in many places it looked like we are running a juggernaut over local nature, local culture, authenticity, diversity, serendipity, and negatively impacting the satisfaction levels of all the stakeholders involved. And we all have seen these pictures when tourism restarted. One of the first pictures which moved around the world was a new gigantic cruise ship towering over Venice, and people were saying, wow, this is the new tourism? It looks very much like the old tourism. And so there is a need to not wasting this opportunity, but moving forward, as Taleb Rifai also said in the morning, to use this opportunity to create a better tourism and rethinking what we are doing here today together, the way how tourism can be developed in a better way, and in a way which we have been coining the phrase meaningful tourism for. So meaningful tourism means to go back simply to not only giving tourists and customers and guests in our aircraft and wherever good service, but by giving them very good service. And I was very impressed, Mr. Al-Bakr, to hear how clearly this is also what is on the heart of your business model. So not just giving them what they want, but giving them actually more. And that, of course, is based on a deep understanding of what are the needs and expectations of different markets. So I'm the CEO of COTRI, which is a China Outbound Tourism Research Institute. For about 40 years, I've been working in the Chinese market. And as this is, and will be again, the biggest tourism source market, it's very obvious that the needs and expectations of Chinese travelers are very different from those of others. And even within the market, the needs of a 30-year-old Chinese who have been a student in America are very different from the needs of a 55 lady from Gansu, first time in her life outside of China. So putting high levels of satisfaction as a KPI number one, which can create higher yield, and after all, this is all for earning money, by creating opportunities for people and reasons for people to stay longer, to spend more money, and to recommend your services, your destination to others, because we all have learned that the good old word of mouth, and now the word of mouse, so what we call WOM square, is the most reliable and most effective way of marketing. So that means for the tourists to gain more experiences, and for the host communities to benefit from the visitors so that they are accepting the visitors, and for the staff to gain full-time jobs. The white elephant in the room in tourism is seasonality, the fact that in many parts of tourism you don't have jobs all year round. That is something with meaningful tourism you can mitigate. And for government, of course, to create jobs, to have more taxes. And for the environment, if the visitors feel more part of the local community, hopefully they will also take more care about their environment. So we're talking today about tourism training and tourism education, because this is what the HATT Business School Institute is about. So therefore, if we say we want to move back from saying this is the customer from room 5028 to this is Mr. and Mrs. Dupont, and from this is suite 6001 to this is a Wang family. So this requires new KPIs, and this also requires there's a paradigm change in the industry. And I think this is something we all have to move our mind in away from that tourism is about holidays. For more and more people, tourism is not about holidays. It's not, and how many of our customers work in a coal mine and so therefore have to rest their body? Very few. Most of us, most of our customers sit in front of a computer. What they need is fresh intakes for their brain, new experiences, new ideas, new encounters, beside all the other things, business travel, visiting friends and relatives, education, and so on. So that also means that we have to prepare our workforce to the special needs. And so for Chinese, a typical encounter is they come to a place and they are told, okay, today you just check in and relax, and tomorrow we will see what we will do. And the Chinese are saying, no, in 20 minutes I want to do the first thing. I have only 3 days. I want to see everything in 3 days. So they are not there to relax. And I think we also have to take into account our customers on average getting older year by year. So we have more and more best agers who are not coming for beach volleyball and one-night stands, but they are coming for enriching their life, for encounters, for experiences, for meeting interesting people. So in tourism education and tourism trainings, we have to support that. And of course, at the heart of HATT Business School Institute is supporting the 17 SDGs and to see that to re-establish a more positive relationship between hosts and guests. And for this, you can valorize the local knowledge. So this is also a chance for those destinations without an Eiffel Tower to attract tourists by offering what is special about these places, and for also offering for the workforce career ladders, so that you don't have this glass ceilings where the locals are the cleaning woman and the waiter, and the hotel director is a Swiss or Canadian or German or something like that. So we see a shift in where are our customers coming from, and I think we will end up in a few years with 3 equal parts of tourists from Europe and Northern America, and tourists from Asia, especially East and Southeast Asia, and tourists from the rest of the world, including the Middle East. So for this, the knowledge about different cultures and the idea for the need of accepting different cultures is necessary. So in the HATT Business School, we have trainings obviously for China, but we also have trainings, for instance, for halal tourism, how to treat Muslim travelers in a way that they are happy about that. So therefore, in our institute, we try to react to these challenges, to this, and well, obviously looking forward 10 years, as we heard, is a very good idea also when you talk about education of young people. So the question, do we still need pilots in the future? Yes, certainly. But also we need many other people working, and they have to learn that it's not only to make Europeans and North Americans happy, but there will be many other kind of customers they will encounter. So this is what we are trying to do, just in a nutshell. So, and based on this, I'm looking forward to hear the point of views of experienced and famous providers of academic and practical education, as well, of course, from a major voice in European tourism, how they see the possibilities and the activities necessary to change the mind and the hearts of the current and the future tourism practitioners. And with this, let us come back to the discussion. And Eduardo, I can start with you. As obviously European Travel Commission, and maybe you can, I think most of you know Eduardo, but we can have a brief introduction and explain to us from an ETC point of view, how is your engagement? I know you do a lot of things, also in this question of how to prepare the next generation for these changes we will look forward to and we will encounter when, hopefully, the pandemic will be a nightmare we remember, something which happened in the past.
Thank you, Wolfgang. Yes, good morning, everybody. I hope it's still morning. Yeah, almost there. So, profoundly changes are coming to us, and we know that. We very much talk about resilience of the sector. What I always say is, and quoting the author of The Little Prince, Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, is that our role is not to forecast the future, but to shape it. You know, we cannot know what is going to happen in 10 years. You know, a decade is a lot of time. What we can do is start changing things that we can change. And this starts with measuring things that we haven't measured before. I think we cannot change what we cannot measure. And you mentioned in your presentation that what we talk about, or we actually name the new paradigm of tourism. We don't have a new paradigm of tourism yet, so we are creating it now. It's part, obviously, of the Commission's plan with the Green Deal and Fit for 55. There's a lot of intentions there, but there have to be a lot of facts and figures still put into. The gentleman from Qatar also was mentioning that the ultimate goal of a business is also to make money. You know, we have to also, nobody goes on business, you know, to lose it. Some of them do it. For me, the biggest issues that we can tackle nowadays at the European level are three major ones. First, connectivity. It has been heavily discussed. Everything that affects and touches connectivity affects massively tourism. It's affecting myself. You know, I cannot move as I would like to for business purpose or even for private purposes. And that has changed also my way of seeing life and free time. Second, and you mentioned seasonality. Seasonality has to do a lot with policy. And having the gentleman from the European Parliament back in the room, I think it's very important that, you know, policy is made by people and societies are made by people. We have in Europe the big problem of having 86 of all our destinations being affected directly by seasonality. That means that we're doing something very wrong. We go all the time at the same time to the same places on holiday. And this can change. We know some models, like regional models in Germany, they have different holidays according to the Bundesländer or the regions. That was done, by the way, back in the 60s, you know, to not congest the autobahn, the highways. But now, you know, we have to decongest also some places and even airports or air routes. We have the issue also of workforce. It's on your presentation. I think this is a huge and underestimated problem, post-pandemic effect, which is very few people would like to work for tourism and travel industry now. Why is that? I mean, there is obviously a systemic problem within the European market, and we know, and beyond. We are not an attractive enough industry because of low payments, because of volatility of the job. You mentioned seasonality, obviously, is one of the reasons. And people have moved on. The pandemic was just a catalyst of that. But we have to take much into account this factor because people make also a service being high qualitative or not. And this has to do with education, and addressing that to you as an educator and a personality from the academia, as Professor Buhalis too. You know, there has to be inherently change in the way we educate people to work for the travel and tourism industry. Then we have the asymmetric resilience, which, you know, in every kind of crisis, and it has mentioned before, you know, we have winners and losers. We've seen a lot of destinations profiting a lot from this pandemic too, you know. And why was that? Because their governance was very different to the others. We see that, for instance, Greece reacted very quick, you know, to reopen the market, you know, and to reopen their destinations to the world, and that paid back. We had other destinations that didn't, and it's not paying back. So I have to also to praise the role of the European institutions, which, you know, normally they are very humble when it comes, you know, to mention the things that they do very well. But the DCC has been something very unique in the world, again, coming from Europe. The COVID pass, or call it certificate, whatever you name them, something very unique that it's been replicated again all over the world, and even our model it's a benchmark for so many other destinations. Moreover, I see that the intentions from the European Union for the different institutions, starting with the Parliament, the Commission, to have a harmonized, coordinated approach to crisis has to be readdressed, because we don't see a more united sector as during a crisis. You know, tourism has been mentioned, one of the 12 ecosystems that should create the new economy of the European, that should create the new society of the European Union. So why is that? Because only during the crisis we were realizing the importance for labor, or for a social environment, for economic environment, and obviously for the environmental environment. And it has been mentioned that we should not be considered travel and tourism the cause of the problem. So I think it was mentioned 2-3% of the CO2 emissions. but we may be the solution of the problem, or part of the solution, if I may. We have to address our interdependency of other sectors, such as, transportation is clear, but agricultural issues, social issues are so much dependent, or tourism depends so much on them. So you see that this kind of interconnectivity let me think that tourism is going to have such a huge role in the next decade within the policy here at the European level. And it should have it. It's not I'm saying that, it has been demonstrated. And maybe just a last thing before moving maybe to the next speaker is the issue of gender equality. And, I cannot address that more. There's a lot of men in black again in this room. And I think we should really reconsider the female role in travel and tourism. It represents more than 80% of the labor force, and it should be very much represented in any kind of tourism forums and any kind of discussion, and especially building the new policy in the future.
Yes, thank you very much for that, and thank you also for raising this the last point, because when we talk about the glass ceiling, which is when I said mostly that the top jobs are mostly given to white persons, actually more precisely it is white men, and there's another glass ceiling for women in our industry as well. And so I think this is clearly the COVID-19 crisis has been helping more people to understand the importance of tourism, but there has been a lot of discussions in many countries that we also found that the people working in healthcare and in pensioners' homes, that their job situation is so bad and their payment is so bad, and we have to do something to better their employment situation. I have not heard much of this kind of ideas for tourism, when actually it is true for tourism as well, that unfortunately our industry is not the most sexy industry to start your career as a professional, and so that is hopefully also something which will be come to the forefront, that also to give very good service you need good people. You need people who are dedicated to their job and like what they do, and part of this is that they are paid properly for that. So with this, maybe Dimitrios, let's go to Hong Kong, so you're working normally in the UK, and now you're in Hong Kong, but you're a Greek, and you just heard the praise for Greece doing the right thing. So from the academic point of view, how do you see, and I know Hong Kong Polytech is one of the universities at the forefront of new ideas and change, and certainly very much aware of intercultural differences. So what's your point on how to get these changes also into the education and into the minds of the next generation of people working in our industry?
Thank you, Wolfgang, and great to be with you, and fantastic to see Eduardo, and Eduardo covered a lot of the things I want to say. I'm currently away from Bournemouth University and sabbatical in Hong Kong Polytechnic University, so I'm having a global perspective, if you like, on what's happening with tourism and how COVID has affected people. And some of you will know that has affected me more than others, because I lost my sister on COVID. And I think it's really, really important to actually start thinking about the situation that we've seen around the world with COVID. And I hear a lot of people pushing towards restarting tourism, but I think we need to be a little bit more careful. And coming into Hong Kong from the UK, I had 21 days of quarantine, hard quarantine in a hotel room, and I had 9 PCR tests in order to be released to the community. So this is the one extreme, if you like, the other extremes in different places. I think it's really critical to understand, and we've just started to understand how important tourism is, because up to now, tourism was something, an activity that was happening in the background, and quite a lot of people were actually quite annoyed about tourism. And you mentioned, Wolfgang, about over-tourism. As you know, I don't believe in over-tourism. I believe in badly manage tourism. I believe that tourism needs much more attention and needs much better planning, development, and support in order to bring benefits to communities. And what we have seen in communities around the world, I was in the summertime, I was traveling in Greece because I wanted to support communities, and especially on the islands. Most of the islands were absolutely desperate. I was speaking to people and they were telling me the year before, in 2020, they had an incredibly difficult year and they were amazed that they survived the winter time. And I think we hear stories from Bali, we hear stories from Thailand, from Africa, in a lot of places where the animals do not have enough food to eat, because if the tourists are not there, they are not supporting feeding the animals, and the whole ecosystem is under difficulty. I think for the first time, we've got the level of government support on a global basis to understand how critical it is. And I think for the first time, we see consumers and tourists understanding how important tourism is for their mental health and their ability to see friends and relatives and their ability to survive in the future. Now, up to now, I think we are very guilty in looking tourism backwards. We have not really adopted the new practices. And we're still thinking about the tourism industry as a legacy industry, how it was happening 20 or 30 years ago. And I think there's several progressive operators that they are moving things forward. And when we are talking about how education is going to bring us benefits, I think, first of all, we need to start thinking about how research is going to bring us benefits and how we understand things in that detail and that granularity that will enable us to understand how we can generate transformational experiences and value for everybody who is involved in the tourism ecosystem. And once we understand that, we need to look into how technology and smart systems will take us forward to the next stage. I think we should not be looking to what jobs we had 10, 20 years ago, but what jobs we will need to have in 20 years ahead, and what skills we will need 20 years ahead. And we need to start looking to how can we prepare the industry for the next stage. Right now, there's a huge shortage of labor all over the world because a lot of people moved away from tourism and hospitality, and they started doing, because they couldn't survive, they couldn't find work. And they went into logistics, they went to a lot of other industries. I think we need to start looking to what value do we need in the future, and then start thinking about what can we do to co-create this value with the young people. I'm very privileged to meet young people every day and see how passionate they are about this industry and how they would like to take things forward. But quite often they are very frustrated because they are not given the opportunities. I think it's critical that we understand that most of the jobs that people will do in 20 years' time will be very different to the jobs that they were doing 20 years ago. And I think we are all problematic in the sense that we have got a lot of legacy thinking. In my area, which is technology and smartness, GDSs, global distribution systems, are still dominating the industry. Yeah. And we've got a real difficulty in adopting the new innovative approaches to move things forward. I think this is a forum like the Global Tourism Forum should concentrate on that, bringing together the best brains in the industry and bring together the best expertise from research development to co-create the new realities that they're going to take us forward rather than look backward. And I don't want to hear people about talking about degrowth of tourism. I really want to talk about how we can make sure that the growth of tourism can be supportive of communities, can be sustainable, can be offering benefits to everybody who is on this ecosystem. And I think this is the challenge that we are having forward. And I think COVID gave us the opportunity to pause for a minute and create that knowledge and think about what you can do. I spent most of the 400 days of lockdown in England doing the Encyclopedia of Tourist Management and Marketing, just to bring all this knowledge together. And we really need to engage with industry very closely and governments in order to be able to take this knowledge into the field and make sure that we can develop it for developing the benefits that tourism is bringing.
Yes. Dimitrios, thank you so much. I think this is a confirmation why we are here in the room together, and this is a confirmation the fruitfulness of the initiative of Ismail and of the European Parliament and of World Tourism Forum Institute. And of course, I'm proud to say that in your encyclopedia, there's also a little article of me about meaningful tourism in there. But so I think somebody said that we are trying in our industry, it's like we try to drive a car by looking only into the back mirror and only looking what is behind us and not looking what is ahead of us. And I think sometimes my impression is that this is actually true, and that I did a couple of projects with my students in Germany, and I can tell you where we have been asking a lot of people in the tourism industry, and including logistics, including events and so on. And people were all underestimating the effect of digitalization. So that was before COVID. People were still saying, oh, maybe in 30 years, but what? Robots at the reception, ha ha ha. So they really didn't get it. So, and with this, let's go to Dubai, certainly a place looking forward, not backward. And Saira, so you're doing a lot of practical work in, not so much in academia, but in training. So really the people on the front stage. So how do you see how the trainings you're offering, and when we are happy that we do this together with the HATT Business School Institute, together with you, how have these trainings changed in the last years, and how do you foresee they will have to change more to react to these changes and challenges?
Thank you, Professor. So since morning, we've been listening to eminent speakers, and it's clear that the three drivers for this industry, given post-COVID-19 situation and scenario: the empowered traveler, the industry itself, and last but not the least, the employees. And what I notice is there's a lot of discussions around strategy and the technology aspects, the digitization, the traveler's mindset, and so on. I'm kind of a bit biased because our company basically focuses on people and their skill sets, because everything to me is brick and mortar, and everything stops, or the buck stops at the feet of that ultimate individual who delivers that service or product to the ultimate customer or the traveler. Now, keeping, obviously the shifts have happened in the industry. We need gold standards if we want to get back into the game and get this industry off its knees and feet. And the only way of achieving that, Professor, is through the people or the employees of various companies within the industry. The pre-COVID, the industry, tourism industry were probably the largest, one of the largest employers in the world. And that has changed now. And now when we talk to companies in our region especially, Dubai is going through Dubai Expo 2020 also, and we're very much engaged with that as well. And the biggest challenge just generally is finding the right talent. People are just not available. Training them, but above all, keeping them with you, stopping all the poaching and so on. So now, if you're lucky to find the talent, then there are two things which will keep them with you. One is money. We know that in tourism industry, frontline jobs are probably not the best choices and options, especially for Gen Zs now. They're looking for more creative way of earning money. They're not ready to work if they don't get the flexi hours and part-time jobs. They want to work in one organization or industry, and they also want to work in another industry. We need to entice the women to join this industry. So given all of these challenges, money is going to make a lot of difference. The second one is close to my heart, which is training. But here we need to turn everything upside down. We need to borrow the mindset of Gen Zs, and because baby boomers like me or Gen X or even the millennials, our thoughts and experiences are important, but they cannot be the drivers for the future. So, I was listening to the eminent professor from Hong Kong, and, it's a young minds, and they're frustrated because they're not getting more and more involved. So the training needs, and the kind of work that my company is doing with HATT Institute is not about lip service, and it's not anymore focusing on yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir kind of training. It needs to be about service, but more injecting into the DNA of the organization what service means to the new empowered traveler. It's all about profiling the traveler deeply, really, really, truly understanding his sense of purpose or her sense of purpose, and what is it that they're seeking. The training needs to focus on gold standards of the organization or the industry, those ultimate standards. It's not just anymore saying this is how we move from point A to B to C. It's really getting into the how and why do we move from point A to B to C. So going back to the point about getting it into the DNA of the people, or why they're doing, why they're servicing, why they have to smile, why they have to attend to that customer, and so on. Skills in the past were more focused on, problem solving, customer service, and so on. More and more, what the employees in hospitality or travel agencies or other tourism sections, the training that they'll need is more, it needs to be more about self-leadership, because we'll want them to be self-accountable, be able to make decisions and choices. Doesn't matter whether they're, junior most employees or senior most employees. So leadership cannot be a department or a right of just one person. It's got to cut across. Emotional intelligence, very important, and cultural understanding from a different perspective in the new normal, because what is considered safe in one culture may not be considered safe in another culture. So everything's turning upside down, and I believe that development and training is going to be the glue which is going to keep it all together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Saira. I think this is some very good insights from the practical side of all the trainings you're doing and we are offering at the HATT Business School Institute. And so it's no less than what you're saying, turning things upside down. So it's not a little change we have to do, it's a big change we have to do. And also, as you mentioned, Dimitrios, so of course, there are a lot of good ideas and new concepts, and it will be our job, and that includes the politicians, that includes the industry organizations, to let these ideas come to the front and let avoid that we basically say, okay, this was just a dent in the quantitative growth, and we are all getting drunk on higher arrival numbers instead of moving forward to say we offer quality, and quality which means different things for different people, and earn the money from that. So with that, I'm afraid we are out of time. Thank you, our colleagues in Dubai and Hong Kong, Saira and Dimitrios, and of course thank you, Eduardo, for being here. And thank all of you, and I hope that it was giving you some fresh ideas. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much to all our speakers.